Have you ever been sitting in an airport, just watching the planes come and go, and had that thought, who's actually in charge if something goes really, really wrong? Millions of us fly every day, and we're all counting on this invisible safety net. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most critical and most overlooked roles in aviation. This is all based on Rob Kennedy's fantastic AvGeek in Residence series, which puts a spotlight on the unsung heroes of the sky. I mean, just think about it. An airport is this incredibly precise machine, a ballet of planes, people, and baggage. But what happens when the music stops? When the gears grind to a halt because of a storm, a security threat, or something far worse? Who steps in when that beautiful order just completely falls apart into chaos? That's where this person comes in, the Airport Emergency Management Coordinator, or AEMC for short. This is the unseen guardian, that calm voice in the storm whose entire job is to spend their days planning for the absolute worst-case scenarios and then lead the charge when one of them actually happens. So here's what we're going to break down. We're going to look at who these guardians are, what they actually do, how the job changes from place to place, and, this is the important part, how someone, maybe even you, could actually step into a role like this. All right, so to really get the AMC, you first have to understand the world they operate in. And believe me, it is way more complex than you probably think. The best way to picture it is exactly this. An airport is literally a city within a city. You've got highways of aircraft, massive tanks of jet fuel, incredibly complex machines, and a population the size of a small town, all crammed into a few square miles. The potential for disaster is just huge, and that is precisely why this role is so absolutely crucial. Okay, so we get why the job exists. But what does an AEMC actually do all day? Let's dive in. Their daily mission is really a constant cycle of preparation. They're not just sitting around waiting for a 911 call. They're updating the master playbook, the airport emergency plan. They're running drills, everything from simple tabletop exercises to full-blown simulations with fake smoke and volunteer victims. And they're the central hub, the main coordinator for this huge network of partners: airlines, air traffic control, police, fire, you name it. And that really gets to the heart of it. This job isn't about being the one kicking down doors or running into a fire. It's about being the conductor of the orchestra, making sure the fire trucks, the medics, the police, and the airport staff all play their parts perfectly together. It is 100% a job of leadership and coordination. Now, what's really fascinating is that this role is not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. It changes, sometimes dramatically, depending on where you are in the world and just how big the airport is. The focus can shift like crazy depending on the region. So here in the US, it's hugely driven by FAA and Homeland Security rules. But pop up to Canada, and suddenly your biggest worries are brutal winter storms and vast remote terrain. Over in Asia, with some of the busiest airports on Earth, it's all about managing massive crowds. And in the Middle East, you might be working with some of the most advanced state-of-the-art tech imaginable. And size matters a lot. At a small regional airport, you might be the AECMC, the safety officer, and the head of operations all rolled into one. It's perfect for someone coming from a local fire or police department. But if you're at a massive hub like LAX or JFK, you're a highly specialized, seasoned commander running a 24/7 command center and coordinating with federal agencies. So let's say this is starting to sound pretty interesting. How in the world do you actually get on the path to running an emergency operations center, the EOC? Well, in the United States, the entire foundation is built on something called the FEMA Incident Command System, or ICS. You can think of it as the universal language for every single emergency responder. It's what allows a local fire department, state police, and federal agents to show up at a chaotic scene and all work from the same playbook. You start with the basics, ICS 100 and 200, and you climb that ladder all the way up to commanding huge, complex incidents. This training, it's completely non-negotiable. And your journey really depends on your goal. If you're looking at a smaller airport, a solid background as a firefighter, a paramedic, or a cop, plus that basic ICS training could be your ticket in. But if you're aiming for the big leagues, a major international hub, you're gonna need more. We're talking a bachelor's or even a master's degree, plus 5, 10, or more years of high-level command experience. Okay, let's talk about the good stuff. A job is more than just the work, right? It's about the rewards, both the ones you can take to the bank and the ones you can't. The money's pretty good, and the path for growth is really clear. You can start out making a solid living at a smaller airport and climb your way well into six figures at a larger one. There's a real career ladder here. But honestly, for a lot of people, especially folks coming from the front lines of emergency services, this is the real game changer. You get solid public sector retirement plans, great healthcare, and, for the most part, a predictable schedule. It's a stable job with a clear mission, and that can be incredibly appealing. But let's be really, really clear about something. For all the talk about stability, the entire point of this job is to be ready for the exact moment when all that stability shatters. And this is why all that planning matters. This is where it pays off. In 2005, an Air France jet crashed after sliding off a runway in Toronto, and every single person survived. Why? Because the airport's emergency crews had practiced that exact scenario. Same thing in 2008 at Heathrow. A plane landed short of the runway. The damage could have been catastrophic, but the instant activation of the emergency plan, the AMC's plan, prevented it from getting worse. This is where all the paperwork and drills become real life-saving action. So after hearing all that, the last question is probably the most important one. Could this be a job for you? Look, if you're already a first responder, a firefighter, a cop, a paramedic, a dispatcher, you already have the DNA for this job. You get it. Incident command, working with different agencies, leading in a crisis, making tough calls under insane pressure, that's your world. This role takes all those skills you spent years developing and gives you a new, stable, and really rewarding place to use them. And what's so cool is that the AMC job is just one piece of a much bigger world. It's just one of more than 35 of these lesser-known but absolutely vital aviation jobs that Rob Kennedy covers in his AvGeek in Residence series. He's uncovering this whole hidden universe of incredible career opportunities that most of us never even hear about. When you boil it all down, it really comes to this. In the absolute worst moment an airport can possibly face, when panic is setting in and lives are on the line, everyone, from the airport director to the federal government, looks to the Emergency Operations Center. The AMC is the person who has to have earned that trust. So I'm just going to leave you with this one question to think about. When things get chaotic and scary and most people are running away from the problem, are you the kind of person whose first instinct is to run toward it? If the answer is yes, then maybe, just maybe, aviation has the perfect second act waiting for you.